Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Wealth Circuit Investing. This is a place where we try to inspire and encourage and engage investors in investing in dividend paying stocks, because I believe that's where there's a lot of value to be had in this investing world. So I'm glad you guys are here. Tonight, we're just basically going to have a roundtable. I just wanted to kind of sit down. Maybe share with me what you have there at your side, whether you might be drinking water. I mean, it is Monday night, right? I mean, but you might have something a little bit stronger than water. I happen to be drinking a Diet Pepsi. I do not own Pepsi. I actually sold my Pepsi shares about 6 or 8 months ago, but I'm still drinking Diet Pepsi. I mean, hey, go figure that. So anyway, share with me what you are drinking, and I am so glad to have you guys here. I thought I would kick off let me know that you're here. Actually, in the notes there to this broadcast, I'm excited about this. So there was a couple of questions that came in on the Discord. So I wanted to share, if you're probably already on the Discord, but just by chance we have somebody watching the replay who doesn't have access to the Discord, you can follow the link that's in the comments to this video. Come and join us on the Discord. This Discord has really turned into be something that I enjoy, and it is a group of investors who are working with each other, learning from each other, asking questions out in this space that we can kind of work together. And what we believe is that we are not working against each other, we're working together. And so as we work together, I think we can grow faster and further than we would go on our own. And so that's why I created this Discord. That's why I have this buy me a coffee thing. You'll see that in the links below as well. It's really to build this environment. I better turn my ringer off before I get another phone call. But it's to build that environment where we can all just kind of work together and ask the questions. Sometimes you might think they're stupid questions, but we're finding that you might ask a great question and get a stupid answer too. So but anyway, the idea is that we work together. So if you're not a part of that, join us, and let's kind of see who's here at the moment. There is, let's see, we have Pat. Pat is in the islands down in the Gulf. Maybe not the Gulf, might even be out in the ocean. Not exactly sure where you are, Pat, but I know you're south of me, and that's saying something. So he said he's missed a few live streams. The internet seems to be working on this island tonight. So, Pat, I am super stoked that you are here. It's good to have you, my friend. And I see your question here. I will get to that in just a minute. If I don't remember, hit me up again. So we got Michael Swami, who is on the broadcast tonight. Welcome, my friend. Welcome to the broadcast. We have Colin. Colin, I haven't seen you in a while, my friend. It's good to see you. I am glad you're here tonight. And I'll stop saying that because I'm glad all of you are here tonight. So Totomi is here. Welcome, my friend. We got Slammer 6789. He's got a now. I don't know exactly how to ask this because you can't respond, but I've heard it pronounced kombucha and I've heard it pronounced kombucha. So let me know if it's a hard K or a CH sound, if that's the way you pronounce it, kombucha or kombucha. So let me know, my friend. And it is a ginger, so that's actually sounds really good. We got Shaping that's on. He says booch. All right, so it's kombucha. Welcome, Shaping. It's great to have you here. I said I wasn't going to say that, but anyway, we got Greg from Southern California. Greg's a big part of our Discord. So, Greg, I'm super stoked that you're here as well. And Tutomi, I see your question, but I'm not going to flash it up yet. I want to kind of walk through something first. And so I'm going to get Greg off the screen. I am then going to come over here. we're going to talk a little bit about a roundtable. And these were a couple of questions that came in on the Discord. So I wanted to walk through those. Since I had those in advance, I actually got to spend a little time with them and put some notes together. So I thought I would share that with you. Hopefully it's helpful. And the first question comes from my friend Ex-Dividend Dad. Ex-Dividend Dad says Capital One is buying Discover. That's Discover Financial Services, DFS, ticker symbol DFS. Where is the value, if any? And then the rest of that is the merger will make them the largest credit card loan company by volume. So, that's obviously one of the values. But here's some thoughts that I just kind of put together on this. First of all, this is a deal that is not official yet. So I'm not really sure how this leaked out. Somebody is going to get in a little bit of trouble, I think, because everything that you read about it says, sources close to the matter say it is not an official announcement. They have not announced that they are, putting the offer out. Now, do I think they will? Yeah, I think they will. I think there's a 95% chance that they will actually make an offer. So, but I wanted to point that out so that you guys don't think that this is a done deal. It is not an official offer yet. But what we do know from sources close to the to the transaction is that it is an all stock deal. So there's going to be no additional debt incurred by Capital One. They will issue shares. So what does that mean? That means that their debt is not going to rise, which is good, but they are going to issue shares. Now there is the potential for that share issuance to dilute shareholders. If you want to know what share dilution is, look at last week's live stream. We talked at length about it. But here's the issue: if they pay too much. But and let me back up for a second. If Discover DFS brings earnings to the table and Capital One pays for those earnings with shares, there's no dilution. It's just basically a merger, and you don't have to worry about it. But if they pay premiums on this, then it's likely that it could dilute shareholders a little bit. For Capital One. So what does that mean? Well, I'm going to talk about that here in a minute. So Capital One intends to continue the use of the Discover brand. So one of the values, Ex-Dividend Dad, is that they will be incorporating the Discover brand with the Capital One brand. It's a way to actually add more branding to their portfolio. That's a potential value. The DFS market cap is $28 billion. So in what I've seen, usually there's like a 10 to 20% premium, and it really depends on the deal. But I'm expecting, and let's see how close I come. Maybe we could all guess at what we think this deal is going to be for, the amount. But I'm expecting it to be about a $35 billion deal. So their market cap's 28. I think they're going to offer around 35 billion in total for DFS. Put in the comments here what you think, if you care, what Capital One might offer in billions of dollars for DFS, knowing that their market capitalization is 28 billion. So they're not going to offer less than that because the shareholders will say, no, we got 28 billion just in the open market. So it's going to be at least 28 billion. It's going to have to be more than that. So they will offer a premium for it. The rest of it is that deals demand synergies. So synergy, if you don't know what synergy is, it is 1 + 1 = more than 1. So, you're putting something together that is going to be bigger and stronger on the other side of it. That's what a synergy is. Leverage. So here are some examples. They can leverage their information systems. They can reduce the number of offices. So if, there's 2 offices, in the same city, they might close and have just one. They could reduce headcount. They could increase utilization of, funds, or utilization really of distribution channels, or funding, or cap requirements. And so there's a lot of ways that they can get synergies out of this deal. But here's the most important thing. Who is the winner? The winner, in my opinion, will be the DFS shareholders, because anytime, let me not say anytime, 99% of the time in a merger or an acquisition, the acquiring company, the one who is taking the lead and buying the other company, goes down in value on the stock market. And it's because of what we're just talking about here, paying that premium, diluting shareholders. That stock, Capital One, I believe, will go down. And then this will be tomorrow at the open. Capital One will go down and DFS will go up. And so the winner is going to be DFS shareholders, in my opinion. I think it's probably going to be, once market opens, it's going to be too late to take advantage of that. But if you are a DFS shareholder, I think you're going to be pleased with this, as long as the deal actually does get announced. All right. Hopefully that was helpful. That's question number one. Thank you, ex-dividend dad, for that excellent question. The next one comes from my friend Gnome N-K in the server. He says he's going to unfortunately miss, because 7 p.m. Central Time here is like 2 a.m. for him across the waters. So anyway, he wants to ask this question. I would like a thought if some REITs are at risk of going bankrupt if rates are not reduced soon. And this is a great question, because we talk about these rates that are not going down, and that's a big issue. But so from my perspective, the issue with rates is not necessarily on whether companies will go bankrupt. It is whether or not business will slow down. And if business slows down too much, a lot of times it's hard to get it back going. That's called the slippery slope. So once you get over the edge and you begin to slide down the hill, it is really hard to get the momentum to get back up on top of the hill. So that's the biggest risk. But let me address Gnome's question as he wrote it. First of all, there are many REITs, and just like companies, just like normal for-profit companies, they could be at risk for bankruptcy. They're individual companies. They're individually run. They have their own management team, their own board of directors who make decisions. Any company like that has the risk of bankruptcy. So the REITs are no different, other than being highly capitalized. There's no difference between them and other companies. So secondly, what do I look for? So if I'm concerned about a REIT or any company really going bankrupt, what do I look for? First of all, I look for the debt to total capital. If that's below 50%, let's say, that means they got half debt, half equity. I'm good to go. Then I also look at the interest coverage ratio, and as long as that's above 8, and that means that they have 8 times the income to pay for interest, then that's what I look for. Secondly, I look at their debt refinancing timeline. That is really important, because regardless of how much debt they have, if they have debt that's out 10 years, then it's going to be a while before it needs to be refinanced. And so there's not an issue there. But if all of their debt's going to be refinanced in the next 12 months or in the next 24 months, that could be a real issue, especially with higher interest rates. So you want to check out their debt refinancing timeline. Probably find that in their 10K document filed with the SEC. The third thing I look at is how much of their debt is variable and how much of their debt is fixed. And they may not give you that specific information in the 10K, but what they will give you is some metric around the impact to earnings for a percentage change in interest rate. So they may say, hey, for a 1% change in interest, it would impact earnings this much. You'll have to dig in the 10K to find that, but you will find it there. So that's what I look for. Then Michael says that he lost me. Hopefully I'm still there. So If not, I don't know what to do because I look good here. I look really good on my end. So REITs are required to pay at least 90% of their taxable income to shareholders in the form of a dividend. Why does this matter in terms of bankruptcy? Well, why it matters is if a REIT earns $100, they have to pay 90 of those dollars out to shareholders because that's what gives them their special tax status. So they pay $90 out. But let's say their interest rates jump, or their debt, the cost of debt, cost of financing jumps, and it eats away $90 of their 100. So they end up with only $10 now in earnings as opposed to $100. So they only have to pay out $9, not $90. So what you really want to look for to determine if a REIT is looking toward bankruptcy is not necessarily the debt. You want to look at the dividend. And because too much debt impacts dividends before it's like a forward-looking ratio, right? It's if their dividends are coming down, that means their expenses have gone up, or even revenues have come down. So they're not earning as much. And when they don't earn as much, they can't pay as much. So you want to look at the dividend. This is one of the only industries where I would say you would look at the dividend first because of the special rules around how they pay dividends. Secondly, therefore, look for poor dividend safety ratings as a predictor of bankruptcy. And we'll look at one here in a second. So in general, I am not concerned about bankruptcy for REITs, but certain REITs may be in trouble. So hopefully that was helpful. But now let me show you. I'm going to stop that. Hey guys, I just got bigger all of a sudden. And I'm going to come over here. I'm going to present a different screen now. We will go to this right here. You guys have seen this many times before. This is Morningstar, but I'm actually going to go to Simply Safe Dividends. And I guess I got to log in. So let's take a look at Realty Income. Ticker symbol O. It is the monthly dividend company. You can see that their dividend safety rating is an 80. And, that tells us a lot, right? It tells us that their debt load is not pressuring their dividend, right? So that they would reduce their dividend. So let's look at a really good one, and that's going to be Medical Properties Trust. There's been a lot of discussion about this, but I wanted to show you what this is, what this looks like. It is a 20. So what does that mean? It means that they have the potential of not paying, of reducing their dividend. So there's a high potential that they will reduce their dividend. If that's the case, that means that they're making less money. And if they're making less money, there's a higher potential of bankruptcy. But it doesn't mean they're going to go bankrupt. You have to do a lot more work. But this is a kind of the preemptive look for me. When I'm looking at a REIT and I see a score of 20, I say, no thanks. Whether they go bankrupt or not, I don't know, but it's not a well-run company. So those were some examples. So let's come back over here to, I'm not going to remove that, but I am going to get it off the screen. So now let's go back. I think there were some questions that we had. So Pat, I think this is Arbor Realty, right? ABR. So he's wanting to know about ABR. Yeah, Arbor Realty Trust. That is a mortgage REIT. And here, let me do that. Pat, I'm going to take your comment off the screen. So you see that Arbor Realty Trust is a mortgage REIT. I am not a fan of mortgage REITs. I'm much more of a fan of real estate property REITs, but not the mortgage REITs. And I could talk about that for a while, but I want to get to some other stuff. But you can see that their dividend safety score is a 50. And They've got a dividend yield of 12.29%. Usually a higher yield means what? Higher risk. And so if there's a high yielding dividend out there, you can be guaranteed that it is higher risk. Your job and my job as an investor is to understand that risk and determine whether I am willing to take that risk. So that I don't own Arbor Realty Trust, but it's it's got a high dividend yield, but it's not something that I'm interested in at the moment, especially because it's a mortgage REIT. So hopefully that helps, Pat. And you're on an island, so I'm not really sure that you should be thinking much about stocks right now. You should be thinking about the Long Island iced teas and whatever it is that you drink out on the beach, my friend. So let's see. There was another question, and I am searching for it here. And Defender of Dead says, I'm all for ABR under $13. And, that's a great point. I'm going to get rid of this screen here. But I just want to say that is a great point, because every stock is worthwhile at some price, right? So, like for instance, Intel, when they cut their dividend and all of that, I mean, at some point it was worth something, right? It wasn't worth the $46 it was, but when it got to 23, it was half the price. Maybe it was worthwhile. You just have to find out what that balance is. And I don't like mortgage REITs really at all, so I'm not going to be there. But Defender of Dead here says he likes it under 13. That's kind of the way to look at it is, what am I willing to pay for it to take on the level of risk that it has? So that's those are my thoughts. And I think Defender of Dead has a great point there. All right. So we have the Cookie Monster. Welcome, Cookie Monster. I haven't seen you in a while, my friend. So Cookie Monster and I have been friends for quite a number of years. And it's good to see you in the live stream here, my friend. So Pat says, but I don't like the way they wait so long to announce the dividend. So that could be as well. So while I'm there, might be interesting to see what their dividend streak has been. So they, back during the great financial crisis, they cut their dividend out totally, and they've been growing it ever since. They've had a growth streak of 11 years. And so Pat, for me, it looks like they have grown it pretty consistently. Maybe it is, this is the first time in the last couple of years, 3 years, that they've gone 3 quarters without raising it. So I don't know. That's a good question. It'll be worthwhile. And Greg, I appreciate you telling me that you are still there. So I was continuing to talk whether you guys were there or not. So I appreciate you letting me know that. Let's see. We got Christopher. Christopher Dukes is in the house. He says he did a lot of dip buying on the huge sell-off Friday. That's a great deal. I also did that. I don't know if everybody knows, but if you're in the inspiration or collaboration tiers, that my I had to create some cash to change accounts. I moved my investments from one account to another, and by doing that, it's complicated. But I also unlocked some additional capital that I can invest with, and so all of that came back, and it came back online, and so I was sitting there with a bunch of cash. And I've invested about half of it, and I've still got about half of it to figure out. But Christopher, also hit that dip last week, and it was pretty sweet. So nice job, my friend. So Greg says, office REITs are a big no-no for me, many others to choose from. I think that's not a bad thought either. I mean, office REITs are a little tough. It's a tough market. I do have one, what I believe is highly undervalued office REIT, and that is Kilroy Realty. I had it about 1.5% of the portfolio. It's now 1%. So I took down about half of that investment, and then that was in the 40s. And my average cost is somewhere in the 27 range, I think. So, and now it's back down in the low to mid 30s. So, but I think I'm just going to leave it alone. I'm just going to leave it there and kind of see what happens. So it's not a huge number for me. KSM, welcome to the broadcast, my friend. Using terms of MPW's industry to define their dividend safety score, they appear to be in the ICU. Absolutely, my friend. It is a pretty ugly scene for them right now. And hopefully, I mean, I don't wish ill on any company out there. I want them to do well. And I want for their shareholders, for them to recover from this so that they can do very, very well. But things don't look that great for MPW right now. And if you're a holder of MPW, I wish the best for you. So we'll just see. I mean, we won't know until the fat lady sings, as they say. So, but I hear her warming up. No, I'm just joking. I don't know. I haven't studied them at length, but I thought that was funny. To Tommy, Kevin, do you have Roth investments? Yes, I do. I have 3 different types of investments. I think I have only 3. I have Roth investments. I have the traditional tax-deferred investments, and that's because they didn't come up with Roth until after I was well on my way. So I have traditional, I have Roth, and I also have an after-tax account as well. And it's the after-tax account that I use if I need some additional income, or if I'm investing in a real estate property or something like that. So yes, sir, I have Roth investments. Oh, we got Chris, also known as Comma Rye. Welcome to the house, my friend. Still looking forward to Pinnacle West's what is that? The commission. I forget the acronym for it, but the Arizona Commission. I'm still looking forward to hearing from them. I think it's next week. So I may even pick up a few more shares of Pinnacle West in the meantime. So we got Mike in Milltown, New Jersey. Should you take your RMD monthly or annually, and how much cash should you hold? Wow. That's a pretty deep question. So let's take the RMD. That's a required minimum distribution, and that comes from your. I don't think a Roth requires that, but the traditional investments, the traditional tax-deferred investments, have what's called a required minimum distribution, and they've changed the age limit on that now. I think it's 75 now, 74, 75. Used to be 72. So when you get to that point, you are required to pull funds out and pay taxes on those distributions. And there's a calculation that goes there. And if you forget to do it, then you get penalized. It's really an ugly thing. So, so first of all, should you take your required monthly distribution? I would say absolutely. The rest of that is, should it be monthly or annually? And I don't think it really matters. I think it depends on your personal situation. I mean, if you are using that to live on, if you need it for, either rent or groceries or utilities or that kind of thing, I think monthly is fine. If you are doing it just so that you don't get penalized, I would just do it annually, and then I would take that and then invest it somewhere else, maybe in an after-tax or something. That's the way I would do it. How much cash should you hold? That's a great question. And so I did a live stream on this. I think, gosh, it's been 2 or 3 months ago. So I won't tell you to go back and find that. What I will do is try and summarize that. And one of the questions that we have to answer is, what do we mean by cash? And what I mean by cash is the cash held in my investment account. not cash that I would hold for an emergency fund or for insurance that gets paid every 6 months, or that cash I keep in my what I call my operating fund. So all of that cash is sitting over there, and it helps me run my life. I don't use cash from my investments to do that. If I run short on this cash, that's when I pull money out of the investment account. So it is really about cash in investments for me, and that's the way I'll answer this question. And I keep no more than 10% cash in my investment account. And I think I'm sitting at about 9.5 right now. So if you can imagine, I was around 17, 18% last week when all those accounts got moved. So I needed to get some cash back to work. And I was able to do that last week during the dip. So I was really excited about that. Okay, so Zanati is asking, and I think I'll just read the next one, is asking about BTI, and I think that's British American Tobacco. But let me just make sure. I will go ahead and put this here, and so let's look at BTI. Yeah, British American Tobacco. They have a dividend safety score of 45, and I think that is really more about the tobacco industry. It is not about the company itself, because if you take a look at Mo, which is Altria Group, they're at a 55. Let's take a look at Philip Morris. They're at a 64, so they're in a little better shape. But I wouldn't get too concerned about the 45 for British American Tobacco. Let's take a look at, they got a payout ratio in the 60s. They've been increasing their dividend for 24 years. What is their yield? I'm looking 9.74%. Let's look at a couple of other things here. It looks like they're undervalued from those perspectives. So things are not too bad. Let's look at their return on invested capital. They're sitting around 12%, which is not terrible. I mean, if you think of the cost of the weighted average cost of capital, which would be the capital that it takes to make money, if they're sitting at around 8% there, they're getting a return over their weighted average cost of capital. So that's not so bad. Their net debt to capital is about 40%, which is very manageable. And their interest coverage ratio is about 6.8. So that's a little less than what I like. So what do I think about them? I think they're fine as long as you understand the. Let me say that differently. What I believe about the tobacco industry is that it is not necessarily a long-term investment, but it can be a medium-term investment. I don't think it's going away tomorrow. I don't think it's going away next year. But I think, in the next 10 years, we will see some major changes in that industry. So I invest in it not really from a long-term perspective. I'm not going to buy and hold it forever, but it does pay a nice dividend. And in my after-tax account, I need that income. So I do have Altria Group. I do not own British American Tobacco. Here's another thought. I'm not sure where you're from, Zanati, but I do know that I don't think that there is, so being an American, I don't think that there is, I think there's an agreement between Britain and America so that there's not a tax issue here, but there is a, what do you call that? Where the money changes, right? It's in pounds versus dollars, and when you get old, this happens. But there's I'm losing the thought. But the exchange rates for those dividends will be different. So if the exchange rate goes up or down, it actually impacts what you get in US dollars. So it may say you get X amount per share, but that is going to move around because of the exchange rate. So that's one thing to keep in mind. That's all. All right. So where are we at here? These are great questions, guys. Man, I am so excited to be here with you guys. This is a lot of fun to me. So I really appreciate you guys joining. See, what is the high risk position in my portfolio if a recession comes? Well, I don't know. I guess I should look. That's a good question. I've got several. I think Lowe's is one. Let's see. Without going through all of these, I'm not worried about Cummins in a recession. Not worried about them or them. Not worried about Hershey's. Not worried about IBM or Johnson & Johnson or Lockheed Martin. So Lowe's is one that I would be worried about. Microsoft maybe, but these utilities I'm not worried about. Prudential could be. That could be a higher risk. Raytheon could be a higher risk. T. Rowe Price. And then my two nemesis here, Stanley Black & Decker and Whirlpool. Both of those could be my biggest risk. But we'll just have to see. I don't know. So I think Tutomi, maybe Lowe's, Stanley, and Whirlpool would probably be my biggest risks. And those are in that consumer discretionary category. So, oh yeah, Chris, thank you for pointing out. It's the ACC, the Arizona Cooperation Commission, here it is, Corporation Commission. Yeah, the corporation. It's the Arizona Corporation Commission, and it's such a weird name that I never remember it. It's not like the the Electric Utility Commission. That's what it should be, but it's not. Arizona Corporation Commission. So that's good. I appreciate that. Tutomi, maybe you can make a video about Roth. Maybe what specifically about Roth? About a Roth investment, or about how Roth works, or I'm not really sure what you mean there. So how many holdings are good to have in Roth? That's a good question. And I've been talking for a while, so I'm going to take a drink, and I would suggest everybody on here just take a quick sip. That's much better. I would say that it doesn't make a difference. It's not any different for a Roth than it would be for any other style of investment. I think the number of holdings that I want in my portfolio are the number of holdings that I can adequately keep up with. So if you've been following me for a while, you know that I had 42 investments at one time, not including ETFs. That was 42 individual stocks. And it took forever every quarter to kind of keep track of those. And some of them were teeny tiny percentages in my portfolio. So I early last year, I took on a task to reduce that number. So I am now sitting at 28. And before too long, I will probably make some hard decisions to get down to 25. And it's not because I dislike those positions. I like them all, but there were just too many. And so I think 25 for me is a good level, the number of investments. And I might hold some in the Roth. I might hold some in the traditional. I might hold some in the after tax. But that's 25 overall. And I might hold some in all of them. I don't know. That's just me. Call me goofy, but that's just the way I look at it. So Slammer 6789. You seem to use SimpliSafe a lot when asked to research a stock, not Seeking Alpha or others. I am ready to pay for a stock research app. Is this your favorite? That is a great question, my friend. And the reason I go to SimpliSafe Dividends is because most everything I'm looking for is right there, all on one page. I don't have to flip back and forth. So this information that we see, actually I can take it off the screen now, but I mean, I won't, I'll just kind of flip through. So you can see all of this information is available in Seeking Alpha, but it's just all on the same page in Simply Safe Dividends. So when I'm doing like this live stream, rather than flipping from one screen and then I gotta go through a menu to get to another screen and go through a menu to get to another screen, it's all this right here, and it is much more user friendly for me. So I do like Simply Safe Dividends for that reason. But I will say that this information is available in Seeking Alpha and also in Morningstar. So what is my favorite? Let me just tell you which apps that I use. I use Simply Safe Dividends. I use Morningstar. I use Fast Graphs. I use Seeking Alpha, and I use Tip Ranks. So I actually have 5. I don't recommend that for everyone, but they each give me something that I'm looking for. And, at my age, time is money. So if I can get it in an app and I don't have to go calculate it in the 10K, that's what I'm going to do. So they all give me something. But my favorite one, I think, probably is Simply Safe Dividends. I don't have an affiliate agreement with them. I don't know if they even do affiliate agreements, but I do like them. And I like Morningstar as well for various reasons. I like them all. And I like Seeking Alpha as well. As a matter of fact, this Alpha Picks I mentioned in last week's video, there was a special price of $89. If you followed the link. So if you did that and you took advantage of that, that was a great move, because it was only a few days later they came out and bumped the price of that up to like $449 or something like that. So if you got that special deal last week, that was a great move. But I would say that my favorite is, just because of the way the information is laid out, is Simply Safe Dividends. But I can get that information in other apps as well. So it really depends on everything that you want. And let me give an example. Seeking Alpha will track your portfolio. You can link it to your portfolio account and it will do that. I don't do that. I actually manually update mine. But the issue that I have with Seeking Alpha's portfolio tracker is that it doesn't consolidate everything. So I have, as we talked about earlier, I have a Roth, I have a traditional, and I have an after tax. And I want to see that together as one portfolio. It doesn't matter to me which account it's in. I make decisions on which account I buy stocks in, but I want to see the overall portfolio. Seeking Alpha doesn't do that. It'll give you each individual portfolio, but not consolidated together. Morningstar will do that. Tip Ranks will do that, and Simply Safe Dividends will do that. So you just have to decide what it is that you want and go find what gives you the most of what you are after in your portfolio. So I would lay out, hey, what are my top 10 things? I need this, I need this, I need this. And then I would look at each one and score them, and then just pick the one. I don't think you can go wrong with any of them. But those are my thoughts. And obviously I have 5, and so I can't really make decisions on that kind of stuff. Oh man. Okay. That's a great question though, my friend. I appreciate you asking that. And let me get this off the screen. And we got my buddy Russ Knopf is in the house. He asked, do you hold any stocks that you would immediately sell if they eliminated the dividend, assuming the business remains the same? Wow, that's a great question, Russ. I would say all of them. Because the reason that one of the reasons that I invest in stocks, as you know, I have a 5-pillar approach. I look at their financials. I look at their capital allocation, which includes their dividend allocation. I look at their valuation. I look at their management team, and I look at their strategy. So those are the 5 things I look at. The capital allocation is a big deal. It's one of my 5 pillars. If they change their approach to capital allocation, it means that my investment thesis has changed, and I would have to have a reason to keep them rather than a reason to sell them. That is a reason to sell them. So that's the way I would approach it. I mean, it could be, if we talk about specific situations, there could be some reason for that, and I would be okay with it. It's not that I wouldn't, be reasonable, but if they Disney got rid of their dividend and then didn't restore it for a long, long time, no, that's just I don't think that's proper capital allocation. So I would get rid of them. So those are my thoughts. Sounds pretty cut and dry, but maybe not. Oh, we got Suzuki Man. Welcome, Suzuki Man. What do you think of Watsco fall after earnings? So I don't know. I mean, Watsco, if my memory's right, it is a company that is built on HVAC, heating, ventilation, air conditioning, and I've got a buddy who does that, and he has told me that their business is way down. So I think it's probably a reasonable reaction for investors that when the earnings are down, they are less interested in the stock. I don't own Watsco, but I mean, those are my thoughts. I think it's probably a reasonable response from investors. I think Simply Safe is great if you're managing 10K or more. It can be a bit pricey. That's exactly right, Russ. These, Simply Safe is expensive. Fast Graphs is expensive. Seeking Alpha is more reasonable. Morningstar, I think, is very reasonable, and Tip Ranks is probably in the middle of that somewhere. So, that's part of the thing. You say you're willing to pay for an app. How much are you willing to pay? That might be one of the questions. So that's a great ad, Russ. I appreciate that. All right. So Tutomi, he says, I was thinking to explain to everyone how Roth works. What are the advantages with Roth, and explain to everyone how you felt about investing in Roth. Just some examples. Maybe not worth it. Yeah. It's something that I can think about. I'll add that to the list and give it some thought, my friend. I appreciate the ideas. And for anybody that has ideas for either these live streams or a video, shoot them to me either through the Discord or even on YouTube in the notes there. That would be fantastic. Let's see. Simply Dividends did not have an affiliate program. Believe me, I've asked several times. All right, great. So I don't have to ask. I can just say, hey, Russ, ask me to ask you if you. No, I wouldn't do that. All right. Cookie Monster. I have a small position in GGG and NEE. GGG is Graco. NEE, I think, is Next Era Energy. Since starting these positions, price has gone up. What are your thoughts on averaging up? And I think that's a great question, Cookie Monster, because and we don't talk about this enough. We talk about averaging down. And when our stock prices go down, it makes us feel better, right? When we can kind of chase that down to the bottom and average that down. But we don't really think about it on the other end. I have done that before, but it is emotionally hard to average up on a stock. And I've got to figure out how to do that better. So, for example, I have a stock called Parker Hannifin. I talked about it a lot. And it has gone to the moon. I started buying it at 275. It's now in the 500s. So, but I have bought along the way, and I've averaged up, and it was painful. It was emotionally painful every time I did that. But I looked at where they were going. I looked at their performance. I looked at how they were getting that performance. That it was not just accounting shenanigans. It was about real value and real efficiency, and so I kept averaging up the whole time, and I'm glad I did. But I think you really have to look. I think we really have to look at which businesses are driving value, and instead of averaging down on our losers, sometimes it's better to average up on our winners. But we're not as prone to do that. We're not emotionally prepared for that. So I think it's worthwhile for all of us to be emotionally prepared to average up in stocks. I'm still working on that. I've been doing this for a long time. It is not an easy thing. It is not for the faint of heart. So let's see. Russ, very interesting, Kev. It's a fun thought to play around with. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I appreciate the question, my friend. So we have Zanati again. Thanks for asking a question. Do you recommend picking up some DFS after Capital One acquired it? So first of all, let me just be clear on that. Once they are acquired by Capital One, if it does actually happen, then those shares will no longer be available. And so they will be bought. The DFS shares will be surrendered and they will be exchanged for shares of Capital One, and DFS will no longer be available to purchase. But if you're asking like after the announcement comes out, I think it's probably going to be too late because once the announcement comes out and we know what the premium is, the stock will hit that immediately. They will not announce that during market hours. They will announce that either before market opens or after market closes. So by the time it comes back open again, there will be very little gain there. So I don't think it's going to be worthwhile to chase that. But if you want to play around with that, feel free to do that. You might even try it on paper, right? You might say, hey, I'm going to, pick up some DFS on Monday or Tuesday, tomorrow, just on paper. What would you have paid for it? How many shares would you have bought? And just see, the next few weeks, what happens to it. That might be a good approach, but I don't think it's going to be worth it. It's my opinion only. So we got Kevin Mendoza in the house. Welcome. We've got two Kevins here now. So we have a quorum. Hey, great to have you here, my friend. All right. Kenji says he averaged up on TSM. That's why am I forgetting the name of that? It's the Taiwan Semiconductor manufacturer. It is weird, but when you like it, you go for it. Absolutely, my friend. That's the way to do it. If you like it and you believe in the company and other shareholders are seeing that and you believe that there's more to come, then it's time to average up. That would beg the question, what do we do with NVIDIA, right? I mean, it has gone to the moon, and is it time to average up on that? I don't know. That's a tough one. So it looks like I am caught up with your questions. Is there any other questions out there? Slammer says he has a position in DFS. I'll keep you updated in the Discord if I remember. Yeah, I appreciate that, my friend. Yeah, and I hope that is a super winner because I think you guys, whoever the shareholders are, I think you guys are going to be the winners in this. So hopefully so. I hope the best for you in that, and I think you got a pretty good chance of coming out ahead. Whatever that premium is, if it's 10%, 15%, 20%, I doubt they would go like 30%, but we'll see how that happens. But yeah, I hope that works. So any other questions out there? We've still got about 6.5 minutes left in the broadcast. That's enough for me to answer about one question as much as I talk. I think I went back and picked up the other questions. So is there anything anybody else wants to see? Okay, Kevin has got a question on is that BKH? Is that Brookfield? Let me look that up. BKH. Black Hills Utilities. Let me pop this on the screen like this. Okay, I'm going to take your question off, Kevin, so we can see better. Black Hills, it's a utility. It's got a 5%, roughly 5% dividend. They've got a 77 safety score, and I'm thinking this is in South Dakota somewhere. Let's see. Here it is. It's Colorado, Montana, South Dakota, and Wyoming. And it looks like they have 222,000 electric customers. They've got gas customers, about 1.1 million. So they're a bigger gas utility than they are an electric utility. And so yeah, I would put them more in a gas utility bucket. And so they've got a 77 payout ratio, 64%. So things, look pretty good for them. They've grown their dividend for 53 years. I mean, that's not a terrible metric to have. And it looks like they may be undervalued. So I would need to look into them a little bit more to understand what their regulatory environment is. But, just looking at it off the top of my head, and that was Kevin Mendoza, I would need to look at them a little more deeply. But as far as utilities go, it looks pretty decent to me. I mean, that's the way I look at it. But again, there's a, it's kind of like a drug pipeline, right? So you can look at the financial numbers on a company like, Eli Lilly or, it's Bristol Myers Squibb or Johnson & Johnson. But, until you really look at that pipeline and see what's coming in the future, do you really know what that future looks like? So it's really about the regulatory environment for them and how they handle that. So I would need to look at that. But on the surface, it looks pretty good to me, my friend. That's the way I look at it. So Tutomi wants to know what I had for lunch today. And that is a Subway sandwich. For those of you who know, I have bought this farm in Alabama, and I am working feverishly to get ahead of the curve. I was behind the curve last year. I want to be ahead of the curve. I am pruning grapevines, peach trees, and we are cutting trees down. We're moving wood to a burn pile. I forget what all we did today, but for the last couple of weeks, we have been just working tirelessly to get everything ready to go, getting our equipment maintained and, just ready for the year. So today I had a guy helping me and we decided we wanted to go to Subway, and that's where we went. So I had a ham sandwich. And for those of you who know, I will save that story for another time if you haven't heard it. But if you have, hopefully you got a little chuckle out of that. So Greg wants to know, what are two stocks that I am watching right now? One of them is the top of my list is Pinnacle West, which is PNW. And I did a video on them a couple of weeks ago about an upcoming ruling by the ACC, which Chris helped me remember that is the Arizona Corporation Commission. So we will see, what that ruling is probably next week. And the other one is ADM. ADM, Archer Daniels Midland, as you know, has some accounting issues. I don't know if they're accounting issues, but they have delayed their SEC filings, and that's a problem. So it looks like next week, what is today, the 19th? So maybe a week from today is when they're expected to file those. So, there's a lot of people afraid of Archer Daniels Midland at the moment. I'm not afraid of it. And so I have built a regular size position in that in a very short period of time. I'm actually a little bit overweight on Pinnacle West. I may, depending on what this week does, I may add to both of those prior to next week. And so those, Greg, are on the top of my list right now. Those are both very short-term investments, and I normally don't do that. I'm normally a long-term kind of guy, but these two just happen to cross my radar, and I'm looking at those to have a little bit of a pop next week. And if not, then I was wrong. So that's kind of the way I'm looking at it. Don Wilson, I don't think we've met. Welcome to the program, my friend. So thoughts on Cummins? Yeah, I've done a lot of research on Cummins. It used to be my largest individual holding, and that's been about a year ago. It's back when they were highly undervalued. And I like Cummins. I like I like the fact that they have a foot in the past. and that they have another foot in the future. They have diesel is in the past, hydrogen is in the future, and I like that they are playing in both of those worlds. I think it's a great long-term investment. I think it has run up in value, and so it's probably, I think, around the 250 mark now. So I let some shares go about a month or so ago at these $250 levels. I think my cost basis is down around 210, 207, something like that. And so they are now normal weight for me, not overweight like they used to be, but I do like them, and they are a part of my long-term portfolio. So those are my thoughts, and I appreciate you asking that question. Oh yeah, thank you, my friend. He says, thanks for the great show. Don't forget to hit the like button. I appreciate you reminding us of that. I wonder if it'll let me hit the like button. Okay, Billy, welcome to the program, my friend. You are over on a different side of the world from some of the others, but so Air Products, I did a video on them about a week or so ago. I am still a fan of Air Products. I think they are now in the 220s. Let me look them up here real quick. Air Products. Yeah, 226.85. That's where they are. And, at that, I'm still a buyer at that price. I bought some last week, trying to figure out how to get me back on the screen. There we go. So I bought some last week around 219. That was one of the stocks that I bought. And, so at 226, it's not a bad price. I think they're worth probably in the 280 range. So I think 226 is not a bad price. We'll have to see what happens. I mean, if they take another dip back at below 220, I'm liable to pick some more up. My percentage, they are at 2.55%. 2.5% of the portfolio for me is normal weight. So I have Air Products at a normal weight. If they drop down below 220 again, I will probably overweight them because I do believe that the future for Air Products is very bright. I think the current and maybe even intermediate time frame is going to be tough for them, depending on what happens with the economy. But I do like Air Products at these prices. I do like them. Now we have 3 Kevins in the house, so this might actually be a record to have 3 Kevins at the same time in a live stream. So Russ, I am so glad you came, my friend. Thank you for catching the live broadcast, and we are now at 1 hour and 3 minutes. So I think I'm going to sign off here, my friends. I really, really love this. If you guys are not a part of the Discord, click the link below. If you want to get more involved in this channel, there's ways to do that in the links as well. Just go through and read all that. If you want to get in touch with me, you can find me on the Discord. You can find me on YouTube. And my friends, I will see you on the next video.